You know, ever since we first found out about the multiverse in Season 2 of The Flash, a lot of people, including yours truly, started speculating on what alternate versions of characters we could see in future episodes, and whether or not the Arrowverse writers could use this to introduce other characters. Kinda like the whole Diggle Green Lantern thing that really picked up steam after we got that reference during the Elseworlds crossover.
Hello, John.
Do I know you?
You're not wearing your ring. Things must be different here.
Actually, it's exactly like that, but whatever. Seriously though, we've already seen or at least heard of plenty of interesting alternate characters, like Earth 2 Robert Queen becoming the Arrow instead of his son Oliver, the Flash from the 90s CBS show that really makes me question what the hell's going on with the Allen family tree on Earth 90, and like 500 different versions of Harrison Wells, just to name a few. But even after seeing the multiverse in action across the Arrowverse in general, I never really stopped to think about what, on the surface, seems like a pretty simple question. Where is Supergirl on Earth 1? Seriously, I got this comment not that long ago, and it actually threw me off a bit the first time I read it. I mean, obviously there is no Superman on Earth 1, and since we know he's pretty important to Supergirl's origin, then that would mean there's no Girl of Steel either. I mean, given what all we've heard from Barry while he was looking for the Earth 38 version of Team Flash in the first Flash Supergirl crossover, titled World's Finest, you'd definitely think that some characters just don't have doppelgangers.
You guys have Central City, but you don't have Star Labs, no Cisco Ramon, no Harrison Wells, no Caitlin Snow, nobody who's gonna be able to help me get back home.
And adding to that, you'd think Barry or Oliver or anybody else in the main universe would have mentioned seeing a flying indestructible blonde woman before seeing Earth 38 Kara, or at least questioned why Barry felt like heading across the multiverse during the Dominator invasion to pick up an alien when they could have just flown over to Metropolis and grabbed the native Supergirl instead, right? Point is, there is no active Supergirl on Earth 1, and given the lack of any kind of clues about her or her famous cousin, then it seems like she never existed in the first place. But after thinking about it for a bit, I started wondering if that was actually true, or if maybe, just maybe, there's a bit more to this question than we realize. First off, despite everything I just said at the beginning of this video, there are actually a couple pieces of evidence scattered throughout a few Arrowverse episodes that do prove that there's a version of Supergirl somewhere in the main universe. But comics, you just said nobody on Earth 1 ever heard of Supergirl or Superman before. And that's true, but think back on everything we've seen so far. Sure, Barry had a hard time finding the Earth 38 versions of his friends, but that doesn't really mean much, considering how we've seen that doppelgangers can have different names from their main counterparts, like with Henry Allen, Jay Garrick, and Barry Allen.
Garrick?
Garrick, yeah, why?
My mom's maiden name.
The Arrow portion of the Crisis on Earth X crossover also backs this up, with Harry mentioning that every character has to have doppelgangers in every universe across the multiverse, including Kara.
Well, there are 53 Karas. Just like there's 53 Kryptons, 53 Earths.
So basically, Barry just sucks at Googling people is the big takeaway here. Seriously though, even if you don't want to believe anything I just said, then let me toss some argument Kryptonite your way in the form of, well, Kryptonite. Jumping back to the Crisis on Earth X crossover, right after Barry, Oliver, and Kara found their Nazi counterparts, well, more like Oliver and Kara found their Nazi counterparts, Barry just got stuck with Eobard again, Oliver casually whipped out a Kryptonite arrow that just ends up getting hand-waved away and is never really questioned again. And you could argue that he has a decent supply, since we've seen him using another Kryptonite arrow during the Elseworlds crossover. Although considering how they got his first arrow back after the Nazi fight, I guess you could argue he just cleaned it off and reused it, but that seems pretty gross. Either way though, where did he get the Kryptonite for his arrow? Team Arrow doesn't exactly have interdimensional portal tech, and I highly doubt that Cisco would help Oliver get some if he thought that there was a possibility of Oliver trying to get stuff just to hurt Kara. Even if he did though, it seems weird that neither he nor Oliver ever mentioned it, especially considering how Oliver at least had a perfect chance to bring it up during the Earth X crossover.
Is that a Kryptonite arrow? Why do you have a Kryptonite arrow?
In case an evil you ever showed up.
Seriously though, outside of some random universe jumping that's never been explored and seems really unlikely, how else could Oliver get some Kryptonite? Well, I mean, he could have just funded an expedition and found some on Earth 1. Not exactly like he doesn't have cash to burn, and him getting some native Kryptonite seems more reasonable than anything else. Although how he realized that Kryptonians are weak to Kryptonite, I don't know, since I don't think it was ever mentioned around Oliver before the Earth X crossover, but let's just say Flashpoint or something. So, okay, regardless of how you look at it, it seems like every universe does have its own versions of Barry, Oliver, and everybody else. Cool beans. But that still doesn't answer the question of what happened to the Earth 1 version of Kara. Well, even though we've never gotten a definitive answer as of the time I'm recording this video, we do have some potential options. Kara herself mentioned during the Dominator invasion that the creepy aliens attacked Krypton and studied a bunch of Kryptonians in the past.
I heard a lot of stories about them when I was a kid. They came to my planet before I was born. They did experiments on a lot of people, killed a lot more.
So it's possible that her or Superman's Earth-1 family either died off before the planet even exploded, or are still on board the Dominator's ships as test subjects. Or maybe Earth-1 Kara still landed on Earth like we saw her counterpart did in Supergirl, but something happened to Superman so he never got her to the Danvers household. He could have died mid-trip, landed somewhere else, never been found by the Kents, or something like that. I mean, there are a lot of things that could go wrong for Clark on this trip. Either way, if nobody's there to help Kara and give her that drive to be a hero, it's possible that she's just lying low and trying to live her life somewhere. Speaking of landing somewhere else though, there's also the possibility that Earth-1 Kara landed somewhere else, and so rather than being found by her cousin, she could have been picked up by a completely different family. Who knows? Maybe we could get a moment during the upcoming Crisis crossover like in the Nail story from the comics, but instead of somebody attacking a random Amish guy and it turns out to be really Superman, we could see somebody attacking an Amish Supergirl. Or maybe Earth-1 Kara never landed on Earth in the first place, and she's still stuck in the Phantom Zone. That'd be interesting to explore. Doesn't really explain what happened to Superman, but still, a Kryptonian who never had a positive experience with humanity does have some Flashpoint vibes to it. Could be a cool way to redeem that story a bit. I mean, honestly, there's so many different ways we could look at this. I could spend all day talking about where Earth-1 Kara might be and what all she might be doing, but regardless of what all happened to her, given what all we know about the Arrowverse and what all we've heard about its multiverse, I'm still pretty sure the Earth-1 Supergirl is still out there somewhere, but we just haven't seen her yet. But anyways guys, that's my take on where the Earth-1 Supergirl might have been this whole time. If you guys agreed with anything I said in this video, or if you have your own thoughts you want to throw out there, then go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, then go ahead and click that like button, and if you're new, maybe consider clicking that subscribe button too. I've also got links to my Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and Patreon in the description. You should probably check those out too. And if you want to see more of my content, then you can click the link to my last video. It's right there in the middle of your screen. Alright, and I will see you all next time.